So yesterday, Johnny and me,
Johnny and I
right. So Johnny and I had begun to play.
had begun playing.
Okay, Miss Know-it-all, whom corrects everything I say and who won't let me finish my sentence.
Um, don't you mean who?
Okay, Billy. Lauren was just trying to help. And what I want to do today is to help both of you become grammar gurus.
Grammar gurus?
That's right, Billy. We're going to turn you into a grammar know-it-all. As we go through the writing and language section of the SAT, we'll tackle some of the biggest English conventions you'll face on the test. Now, the writing and language test is ideal for grammar gurus. It includes both passages as well as informational graphics like tables, charts, and graphs. There won't be too many of these graphics, but when you do come across them, you'll have to use them to make informed decisions about revising and editing the passage that the graphic is associated with. See how in this sample passage, the question directly correlates with the graph at the bottom of the page. Sometimes you'll be asked to answer questions as they directly relate to the graphics, like here. But other times you might have to correct an error in the passage using the graph as a reference. But generally speaking, the two main topics found throughout this part of the test are considered to be expression of ideas and standard English conventions. The questions won't be labeled like that on the test, but it's typically pretty easy to tell the difference. Expression of ideas means things like development, organization, and effective use, while English conventions is more grammar-based or similar to the ACT or the old SAT. That means things like usage, punctuation, and sentence structure. We'll discuss them both more in depth in our next lesson. But first, let's have a look at the test format now. Come test day, this is essentially what you'll find scattered throughout the writing and language section. Each passage will begin with a bold-faced title, followed by a passage that will be spread across multiple pages. Most questions will be connected to a particular area of each passage, with a boxed question number in the passage. Typically, this boxed number will be followed by underlined text, although sometimes you'll come across a box number that it's all by itself, all by its lonesome. If you see this, the test will give you specific instructions as to what to do, so don't panic. But like this example, you'll typically have to decide which one of the four answer options is most suitable, again, focusing on the word most suitable, for the underlined text it correlates with. You might also see questions that are question-specific, asking you to pinpoint something within the paragraph. Other times, they'll be like in the questions above, listed as no change. When there are no additional directions, assume that you'll simply choose the answer that makes the most sense within the context of the underlined section. As you begin studying for the test, you'll see that the purpose of each passage varies. Sometimes the purpose of the passage is to share events as if the speaker were telling a story. Other times you'll see that they serve to explain a process, idea, or argument for a particular way of thinking or acting. But, as this is important to remember, the four key features of the writing and language section can be divided into purpose, subject, complexity, and informational graphics. So for purpose, sometimes the test passages will focus on narrating experiences in a story-like manner. Other times, you'll see that they're mainly there to inform, or explain are to argue to support a claim. Now, for the subjects on this portion of the test include career-related topics, humanities, social studies, history, and science. Career-related topics will be general interest pieces such as trends, issues, debates found in common careers such as healthcare and informational technologies. Humanities passages focus on the arts and letters and include texts on fine art, film, music, literature, and so on and so forth. History social studies passages include texts on topics in history, as well as social sciences like anthropology, archaeology, economics, and psychology. Science passages cover both foundational scientific concepts as well as recent advances in fields like earth science, biology, chemistry, astronomy, and physics. Now, some of the passages are going to be straightforward. They'll have a clear purpose, contain just a bit of information, and use familiar language. But don't get too comfortable. You'll also see other passages that are more complex. Their purpose might be more subtle. Ask the reader to follow a complicated series of events and make use of long and involved passages. Keep that in mind as you start going through the different passages. If the first one seems easy, don't fool yourself into thinking you'll have a lot of time to play with a little bit later on. The same case was with the ACT or the current ACT, where in the beginning you have more grammar and usage questions, and then rhetorical questions in the end, which usually take a little bit more time. So many students think, oh yeah, these questions are easy, and then later on realize that they run out of time. All right, let's move on. Informational graphics. As I mentioned earlier, the passages might include one or more tables, graphs, or charts that relate to the topic of the passage. A graphic may provide additional support for the main idea of the passage, or questions might ask you to use info from the graphic to correct errors in the passage. Okay, since we're running out of time here, in our next lesson we'll have to take a look at the two main categories for the writing and language test: the expression of ideas and standard English conventions. Plus, we'll recap with a brief overview of how this portion of the test is actually divided up.